gentlemen, my brothers and my sisters, it is Brother Solis live with another episode of Coffee and the Truth. And you already know I got my two brothers, probably from the same mothers. They are, not me. Brother Hall.
What's up, my vibes?
And then we got none other than Mr. Star himself, Elliot.
Hello.
As we've been going through these podcasts, being led by the Lord to speak on some things, we have been getting into some deep topics, wanting others to know the things that we battled and to let others know that they are survivors, they are overcomers, and they are not dictated by these things, and we're just sharing our hearts with y'all. And so as we get further into that, I am drawn today to James 1:23, which reads, "If you listen to the word and don't obey, it is like glancing at your face in a mirror. You see yourself, walk away, and forget what you look like. But if you look carefully into the perfect law that sets you free, and if you do what it says and don't forget what you heard, then God will bless you for doing it." Now, don't take me out of context here. I know exactly what he's talking about. It's about us being doers of the word and not just hearers. And he's saying, because if we're just hearers, then this is what it's like. But as I read this, Brother Hall, I picture myself looking inside of the mirror. I often tell people, it's bad when people lie to you, but it's worse when you lie to yourself. And so as I'm looking in the mirror, I can fake a lot of things to a lot of people. But one thing I cannot fake is me to me. And as I read this is something that I'm drawn to because I see it in a lot of individuals. And I ask this question, although it's hard, but can I be real with myself? Can I be real with myself? See, we often go through problems in our walk with Christ. But we have to know, and this is something my wife knows, I preach the mess out of this stuff. You have to know you. Flat out it. You have to know you. You have to know your emotions. You got to know how you operate. And what I mean by this is oftentimes we like to pass the buck. We often like to pass the blame on others. And I understand where that comes from. That comes from the garden. Adam blames Eve. Eve blames the serpent. There's a lack of responsibility. And so where there's a lack of responsibility, there's a lack of growth. There's a lack of progression. And so I cannot grow in Christ until I become real in Christ. And so I cannot grow until I am real with myself. So when I look in the mirror, I have to remember the man when I walk away from the mirror. And I have to remember that this man, if I let him run rampant, this man can destroy me. If I let him run rampant, this man can cause discord in the body. And I'm not telling you you're a bad person. I'm telling you you're a human being. I'm telling you this because I know how it is myself. I know how it is to allow myself to run free and I understand the damage that it can cause. There has been seasons within my life where I allowed me to run free. And I walk in the church and say, praise the Lord, brother, and really and truly, they step away and there's something in my ear trying to cause discord with them. Why? Because I wasn't real with myself. And so if I just looked in the mirror and I realized, hey, Sunday morning, I know everybody likes to use that saying. My wife, she's real about it. Easy like the morning of a Sunday. You ever heard that saying? Well, my wife says Sunday morning ain't easy. She is absolutely right. It is not easy. Why? Because Sunday morning, let's be real, that's where the knockout dragouts come in with the wife. That's where it comes in with the sister. Brother Elliot knows what I'm talking about. That's where all these, you first off, you're fighting your flesh with that alarm clock. You feel like you conquered it, man. You feel like you got it in the headlock, and then your alarm, it gets you in the headlock. You pressing the snooze button and you back to sleep. And then now you're mad because you woke up late. And now you're mad because the kids, they're all grumpy because they fell asleep late. And you fell asleep late. And it's just this. And so I have to remember, okay, and I know what I'm talking about. I mean, y'all maybe, I know what I'm talking about because it happens regularly in my life. I have to know when I look in that mirror, Brother Solis, I don't like being late. I'm not a late person. I'm 30 minutes early to work. That's just the type of person that I am. And if I'm late, it will cause some aggravation in my life. It will. I will start bickering and complaining towards my wife and, at my kids, just being grumpy. And since I'm late, automatically, Brother Hall, I got some preconceived notions that I'm going to walk in this church and the brother's going to say something to me and I'm going to pop off with a smart attitude. You know what I'm saying? Or an ugly attitude. And like I said, I'm being real. I'm being transparent. I ain't trying to hold nothing back from nobody in here. So what I need to do personally before I leave that mirror, I need to look in there and say, Jonathan, you got to die today. Because if Jonathan doesn't die today and Jonathan doesn't know, hey, because you're late, you're going to cause some problems. There is some times where I had to stop before I even got to church. And even though I'm running late, pray at the house because and tell the Lord, look, Lord, I already know that I'm gonna go there, and if somebody says something, I'm gonna have a snobby attitude about it, or I'm gonna get upset. Help me. I don't want to do that. And this is what I mean. Can I be real with myself? I have to be real with myself. And this is one of the things that I'm talking about within myself, but. There's some individuals that I know personally, they will tell you, man, if I spend time alone long enough, I will start getting depressed. And see, that's being real with yourself. If you're not real with yourself, you're often going to allow a depressive spirit. Now I'm allow the spirit of discord and whatever that is, the Sunday morning spirit, whatever you want to call it. I can allow that to go and hinder the move of God and hinder what God needs to do. But if James is telling me, if I just hold on to that law, and what is the first thing I got to do is like Paul says, man, I got to die daily. If I hold on to that, in the morning, because that's me. Me mad because I'm running late has nothing to do with the pastor. Has nothing to do with Brother Staines. Has nothing to do with Brother Patterson. Ain't got nothing to do with Brother Hall. That got to do with Brother Solis. You get what I'm saying? And if I'm not real with Brother Solis, then I'll go over here causing some havoc just because the brother, mentions, I'm late. And I have to be cautious of this. And I have to understand this. So, Brother Hall, help me out here. What is your opinion about this, brother?
So, I know the scriptures that I felt that the Lord gave me to use. It's something that I'm sure many of us already know. It's from the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 7:3, when Jesus was saying, "Why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?" And really, a lot of times it's That's why there's a saying, those that can't do teach. It's there, which is not obviously a true saying at all, but a lot of times it's so much easier to tell someone else what to do without you having to do it. And many times what can happen if we're not careful is because in our minds it's almost like we try to have almost like a fantasy in a sense. We don't want to think that we're doing wrong and that we're not pleasing the Lord, that we're allowing things to happen in our life. So we try to live other people's life and try to say, oh, well, you just got to do this, or, oh, well, you just got to do that. And make it like there's no issue with myself. And what happens when those things happen and you're not being real with yourself and you're trying to focus so much on what other people are dealing with and that basically other people are the problem and that you're not the problem, is when we get into Matthew 7:6, where he says, give not that which is holy unto dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and they turn again and rend you. It may seem like this is kind of random given what he was just talking about, looking at the mote that's in your brother's eye and not seeing that there's a big log, is what really the translation of beam is, just like this huge thing sticking out of your eye. Really what it is holy is, yes, we know it's the Lord, but also it's truth. If you're not listening and being real with yourself or being truthful with yourself, you become a dog and you become a pig. You no longer are wanting to hear truth because you're not being real with yourself. So now someone that God could even be sending your way can now not tell you truth because you do not want to hear it. And also to couple with that, in Proverbs 1:7, when God says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Multiple scriptures in Proverbs are talking about those that are foolish. And the reason why he says that is I think the scripture that best describes it is as a dog returns to his own vomit, so a fool returns to his folly. Basically, it's like I was just saying, it's a fantasy land. You have this whole idea that your life is really a fantasy and you're not really living in real life. So in your mind, what you're doing is not hurting you. In your mind, what you're watching is not hurting you. In your mind, what friendships you have are not affecting you because you're not the problem. Everybody else is the problem. Even though I may be going and I'm a toxic person and I just talk down about people, or I may have dealt with abuse in my life that is that I never officially overcome. So because of that, I can't trust women anymore. Or I can't trust men anymore, or I can't trust my family members anymore because I think that they're just going to take advantage of me. So anytime that I get close to anybody, it's always going to be their fault because I'm not addressing that there is an issue within myself. And then I think before we started all of this, I said there is a reason that people say when you're trying to overcome addiction or when you're trying to overcome whatever thing that you're dealing with, the first step is always admit you have a problem. I can't fix a problem if I don't acknowledge that there is a problem. If I'm saying everybody else is the problem, how can God talk with me and tell me and help me how to fix my problem when the problem's with everybody else?
Yeah, and as we're talking here, I'm drawn to the Cain and the Abel situation. Why did Cain kill Abel?
He didn't think he had an issue.
Right. So it's obvious that there's some jealousy here. But listen to where I'm going with this. This is pretty awesome. The Lord just showed me this. Now, don't think that I had this written down. Like as Brother Hall is talking, the Lord is just speaking to me. So This man gets mad at his brother because the Bible lets us know that his brother presented a better offering to the Lord, sacrifice. So he gets mad at brother. Could it be because he was a procrastinator? So now he allowed himself to tell himself, oh no, it's because your brother's XYZ. Instead of him looking in the mirror and saying, no, it's because you're a procrastinator. And God can see that. And the more you push off the things of God and you put yourself forth, the more God can do something. And the more God looks down and sees that you don't want it. While your brother, on the other hand, is not a procrastinating, and he's doing whatever he needs to do to be pleasing to God. And he's trying to do whatever it takes for things around him to be pleasing to God, even the things that he offers to God. But if he was just real with himself and he understand, I'm not jealous of my brother, I'm jealous of myself. I'm jealous because I have the opportunity to have the same drive as my brother, but I choose not to because TikTok's a little too important. Because my YouTube videos are too important, or my K-pop dramas are too important, or my novellas are too important. Because why I'm watching my novellas, Brother Hall's over there getting in tune with God. And so now he's coming to church with a better offering to the Lord than I am, because I have nothing to operate because I'm full of myself in the world, while Brother Hall is full of the Spirit. So and if he's full of the Spirit, then that means he's in tune with the Spirit. So he knows that, hey, you know what? The Lord wants a dance right now. The Lord wants me getting on my knees and lifting up my hands right now. The Lord wants a shout right now. Because I'm too full of novellas. Novellas are telling me, oh, you know what? I need to go hug Brother Hall and smite him in his rib like Joab. Because that's what the world is telling me to do, because I'm not the problem, right? My brother is. And you can tell that there was some kind of hatred within himself, so much that, okay, not only did it kill his brother's relationship, then that what was dwelling within him would pop off to the Lord. Am I my brother's keeper? There's no respect there. Why? Because I'm not going to respect somebody that I don't give my time to.
And another thing as well, just like we were saying about, or I was just talking about with not hearing truth because he's not being real with himself. God even told him before he killed Abel, hey, you got an issue, you need to address it. And didn't address it.
Right.
So, I mean, that's like, again, if he just didn't want to accept, because it could be just like you were saying, but it could even be also pride because he was the older brother. It's like, I'm not going to let my younger brother get better offering than I am.
Right. Because
I'm the older brother. I'm supposed to be accepted. I'm the one that was even showed how to do this in the first place. My mom and dad showed me how to do this. I've been doing this longer than him. And the Lord's going to accept his offer? No. He's the problem is what it is. And that's and all of his anger and frustration with himself, he projected over here because he didn't want to accept that he was the problem.
Right. You know, me and my wife, we had an issue in our life before, not with each other. We just, of course, the home that I live in now, the Lord was good to me. I mean, trust me, this is all God right here. And I had some people get sour about it. I didn't rub it in people's faces. I didn't throw it in people's faces. I didn't do anything of that nature because I know I'm here because of God. Not because of what I do, because God got me here. I understand that fully. But it's easy for me to look over there and say, you know what, Brother Hall, he's just jumping up there because he's one of the ministers or he wants to be favored with pastor. And it's easy for me to have and they look, and, you know, It's easy for you to look at my house, and it's easy for you to get jealous that I have this. But why not understand that maybe it's because I sacrificed some meals for this, and I sacrificed some times in the morning for this, and I sacrificed some Facebook time to get into that real book time for this. You get what I'm saying? And that's where you have to become real with yourself. I can't get mad at my brother because my brother's getting in tune with God. The only person that I have to be real with is myself. And this is where I'm telling us, I'm not trying to point nobody out or make anybody feel bad. Please do yourself a favor. Please do the Lord a favor and know who you are and present it to the Lord. If Cain could just have presented his feelings and his emotions and what he was going through to God, don't you think God could have changed the situation? See, often we want God to change the situation, but God is the perfect gentleman. Shout out to Brother Patterson for that. He's not going to come up all up in our Kool-Aid and he's force himself on us. He's not going to do that. We're going to have to. Why do you think we tell people what? Lift up their hands. That's a sign of what? What is that? Surrender. I'm no longer holding on to this no more. I'm letting go of this right now. Why? Because now I am no longer Lord over my issue. But as we see with Cain, as long as I harbor these things and I try to deal with them, it's not going to happen. You're right, Brother Hall. I love the way that you brought that out, because the first step to overcoming addiction is realizing that there is a problem. But the longer that you harbor that problem in, you're not gonna get the help that you need, because you are the reason why you're in that. And I'm not saying that, to bash people or make you more depressed. I'm not saying that. The way that I overcame depression was the fact that God would open my eyes to show me that the people that I was depressed over were living life while I wasn't. I was setting myself a couple of months. I thank God it was a couple of months. It wasn't, on years. But I was setting myself back in life those amount of months. While they were moving forward, I was staying stuck in the past. And he showed me that. And that's how I overcame it. First, I realized that, hey, there is a problem of depression. And second, when I started realizing that, then I can bring that before God. And I can show the Lord. And then as I show the Lord, I surrender these things to the Lord. But as long as I keep them within myself, there's going to be some issues. And not only that, there's going to be issues with people that can help me. And people that want me to be better. And people that can see the better in me. You don't think that his brother could have helped him get a closer relationship with God? His brother didn't seem like a stingy person that wouldn't want to share nothing. He seemed like a person that was willing to share this, the goodness of God. But he's over there looking at brother, and jealousy, if jealousy is one of your deals, please realize that it is and put it in its place. Don't think that just because you got your breakthrough on Sunday or Wednesday, or whatever you got your breakthrough before, that it's not going to try to pop up again. Know when it does arise that this isn't of God. That's why it's good to write down your feelings, people. Write them down. Write down those things that you fight. The reason why I'm saying that is because you don't want to be blindsided to these things. That's why I try to teach my wife and I try to teach my children that if somebody offends me and I overreact, it's not that person's problem, it's mine. I don't try to take losses. I really don't. There's always a lesson in some of these things. And I told my wife, you will find out in your offenses that there is something that you've been harboring, because why am I going to get offended at something that's not true? Right? Mm-hmm. If it's not true, then it's a lie. But there's something within my heart that's telling me the statement that you're making is true, and this is how I feel. And this is where I tell my wife, I don't walk around. And I think glory be to God, and say, oh, this person, that person. I always try to look, okay, Jonathan, what is it that you got? What is it that you got? And I apologize to the person if I overreacted, but I always try to walk off giving God what it was that I was holding on to. And there's some things, I mean, the Lord will speak to you if you let him. One time, I'm at work, and my boss questions my knowledge. I've been doing this for 10 years. Metal, fabrication shops and things of this nature. I've been doing it for 10 years. So he comes and he starts measuring my stuff, and I'm all bent out of shape. I prayed in the morning or whatever, and did all what I was supposed to do, or, if that's even the right thing to say. But, did you pray? Yes, I did pray. But I get all bent out of shape. I mean, I'm all mad, like, oh, you don't think that I know what I'm doing, And the Lord said, that's your problem. You got pride. Right? It's pride. It wasn't the fact that this man says, hey, this is my money on the table if there's a mess up, not yours. But pride won't let you see that, right? Pride won't let you do that. Pride will have you walking around thinking that, oh, you know what? No, it's because of this and it's because of that. It's because he don't think that I know what I'm doing. It's because he thinks that I'm dumb. No. But wisdom would allow you to understand, yes, this is his money on the line. Are you willing to throw away $1,000? Some of them things that we're messing with, they can run up to $12,000. Are you willing to throw $12,000 because somebody was full of pride and they thought that they knew what they do and they weren't? No. So don't expect another man to. But yeah, the Lord had to show me that, and I had to start, catching myself, and I got to understand. And that's how you know that you're really progressing forward, when you start understanding situations instead of just off the back, just popping attitudes and things of that nature. You start understanding, you start looking at, well, Brother Hall just happened to wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Or Brother Hall just got some bad news from his employer, and he just needs to let some things off, and here comes Brother Solis all up in his face without giving him some time. I tell people, you got to know your brothers too. You really do. Know the people around you. Seriously. I mean that with all sincerity. I try to tell my young people this. If you know that I'm not the type of person, Brother Hall, that wants to tell you something bad, and I do, please be fool enough of the Holy Ghost to sit there and say, that ain't Brother Solis. That's that old flesh that he's been chilling with. You know what? I'm gonna go wrap my arms around and say, brother, I love you, and I thank you, and I appreciate you, because he probably ain't telling himself that right now. But it's good that we know our circle, and we know that the people right now in this circle do not want to see me fail, are not people that want to see me leave the church, are not people that want depression to be in my home and to be in my marriage, are not people that want to see me in poverty. These are people that want to see me better and want to see my children better. And I have to know that, because that's going to help me when they slip up, and that's going to help me when I slip up. Now, what do you got to say, Brother Hall?
Well, you were talking about, I forgot specifically what the wording of it was, but it was kind of seeing about like somebody, kind of like you were talking about, like somebody's getting blessed with something, and but looking at what have you been doing, and you haven't been doing anything. It brought to my mind what I had preached. It may have been even over a year ago. And the title of the message is "What Will He Find You Doing?" And the main text was Luke chapter 12, verse 43. And the scripture reads that blessed is the servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. And like he's given a parable basically of saying that first he starts off by saying, blessed is the man that when his Lord comes, finds him so doing, basically doing the work, doing what he's supposed to do. And then it goes and he talks about another servant that said, oh, well, master's delayed his coming. He's not going to be coming back for a while. So he's getting drunk. He's partying. He's going, doing all of his stuff. And then when his master comes, finally says, thou fool. And then, and begins to, beat him and different things like that. But it's saying like today's you're so required and whatnot. So it's talking about that when the Lord comes, like that's how it's going to be. People are going to think about that. But what I was telling the church was that there are things that God's put in you to do. And you may not think that it means anything. You may not think it may be anything of any grand scale, or there may be something that you always like to do. It could be, for me, what I was letting them know is that I always wanted to learn Spanish. I didn't know why. I always felt like I wanted to know Spanish. I never had any specific reason. I just always wanted it. Well, then God started calling me and my wife, and we've still learning the language and everything, but that's what we started feeling like God was going to end up eventually using us in Spanish ministry. So we started learning, and that was all from something that as long as I could remember, that I always wanted to learn Spanish. And I was saying, what can happen is if God's put something in you and you're not doing anything with it, what's going to happen is you're going to look to somebody else that God put that same thing in, and God's starting to use them. God's starting to flow through them. And then you're looking at them upset because you sat on your gift. You sat on what God put on your heart. You sat on your burden or whatever it was. And you're seeing somebody else that went and did the work. You're seeing, well, man, I always wanted to learn piano or whatever it was, and I just never had the time. But then you're seeing some other young person or some person of your same age that's being used now and being used in conferences and all these different things, and you're just thinking, well, I can't. And what's really happening is you're upset at yourself, but you're pointing all of your problems and everything at this brother that never did anything to you. All they did was they just put in the work.
And I think most of the time, I guess our emotions are led by either pride or jealousy. If there's anything that we really need to pray for in these days, it's pride and jealousy. Brother Hall, I'm going to be real honest with you. It's real easy for me on Wednesdays when you're playing the drums and you're playing the song that I want to play, that I like to play. It's real easy for me to get jealous or prideful or whatever it is. But I gotta put that flesh down. I gotta die daily. And so I gotta be real myself. I gotta go into that church bathroom. I gotta go into that wherever it is. I gotta be real with myself. But I really think that is a really big problem in these days.
Yeah, because I gotta understand, I'm not fighting you. I'm fighting me. And because I'm allowing me to win, I'm allowing you to lose. I'm the one that's supposed to protect. And Elliot was there. I said, I'm all for the generation of water walkers. I'm all for the generation of the giant slayers. But I said, we need a generation of some armor bearers. That's what we need this day and age. That's what we need to teach our kids, to be armor bearers. Because it's great. One man killed the giant during that time. One man killed the giant, and that was David. This is the time I'm speaking about. One man walked on water. So if I start preaching to these people, they can get very minded, one deep, and think and get very selfish and think that they got it together. But if I can teach my children, if I can teach these youth that the Lord has given me the privilege to help about an armor bearer, a brother who's here to protect his brother, to find out his brother's weakness so the enemy cannot come and protect my brother. That's what we need. But see, what jealousy does, it'll get you on that Saul trip. It would get you trying to kill the very person that is helping you succeed. He was sitting there trying to kill David, and knowing that David was the one killing his enemies. But he was too caught up in jealousy. He was too caught up in himself that he could not see. I am trying to kill the very person that has been helping me succeed. He got mad. Saul kills his 1,000 and David his 10,000. Why are you so mad, Saul? Do you not understand that victory got to continue after you die? Don't you want this generation pushing the gospel a little bit further? Don't you want this generation going in areas that you didn't go? Don't you want this gospel preached in areas of the city that you could not reach? Why are you warring with your brother, Saul? This man is the reason why you're successful. Because you're caught up in you. Because you could not be real. You sat on the blessings of God. You chose to disobey God. You chose to be your own God. And now, God has given what you were supposed to have to somebody who wanted it. Because everything that is done in the dark will come to light. David was in the dark so much that his own daddy passed him up. Until God said it's time for you to come out the dark. Because everything that is done in dark, all them prayers that you've been praying, and all that, you could see the type of man he is when he steps on the field and says, God, the same God that delivered this lion and the bear is the same God. He didn't say, oh, well, you know what? I killed the bear and I killed the lion. And I'll kill. No, he said the same God that delivered these in my hand is going to be the same God. And it still is the same God that's going to give me this victory. Where did he get that? He got that at the moment? No, he got that over there when he was tending to them sheeps, when everybody was getting passed up in the dark. And what King Saul was doing in the dark, eventually came to the light when he started to allow fear. He started allowing fear, and fear ultimately drove him to disobey God's word and put himself in the position to where I gotta take control of this. Because the man of God is being delayed, I got to take control and I got to start offering sacrifices. That wasn't your job. But because you're already out of whack, because you're not even in sync, because you're already disunified, you're already allowing some disunity to come up in here. And that's why you couldn't be on the same page with God. And now you're over here, and then all of this, and you know what I'm getting at is we have to be cautious of that. And we have to be aware of that. And so if you're saying, okay, Brother Solis, I see you're pointing me out. Okay, that's me. I want to give you some hope. I'm not giving this podcast just to kind of point you out and leave you high and the dry. Yes, you can get back up. First, you got to recognize that you've been sloppy and you've been procrastinating and you've been lagging. And once you realize that, then you can get back up. And I'm telling you that for real. My daughter's birthday was in July. So this happened not that long ago. I was cooking a brisket. I got blessed by a guy from my job with a pellet grill. And I was cooking this brisket in this pellet grill, and the pellet grill kept cutting off on me. I would get it good. For real. I'll get the fire good. Everything, the augers feeding, all that stuff's going great. We did a podcast that night. I go back out there, it's cut off. I got it going, remember? You know, everybody leaves. I go to bed. It's already late. I'll wake up in the morning and it's cut off again. But this time when I wake up in the morning, you know what the Lord told me, Brother Hall? Something that you do not want to hear. Something that I don't want to hear. And hoping that you don't have to hear. He said, you're just like that fire. You get good and then you get cut off. I knew exactly what he was talking about. I'll get on fire, man. I'll get that prayer going good. I'll get that. I always, thank God I stayed in the word, but I can honestly tell y'all my prayer life has not always been 100. I can honestly tell y'all that. I knew what he was talking about. My getting in communion with him and getting a conversation with him and, consecration. No. And he was right. Because I'll get up, man. It will go great, great, great. And 3 days later, man, I'm cut off again. Cut off again. But in that moment, I had to realize that I was the problem. It was not God. It was not my pastor. It wasn't the people in the church. I had to get real with myself. And when I did, that's when I was able to get back up and get to that place where I needed to be. And that's what I mean. There is still hope. Rejoice against me, O my enemy, when I fall, for I shall arise. And that's the kind of attitude that you got to have. Don't rejoice and don't help the devils rejoice over you because you fell. Get back up. The man Peter fell, ladies and gentlemen. The man David fell. The man Abraham fell. But all of these individuals, we like to help that when we're falling. We like to point that out, right? We like to throw that in people's face. But I always tell people they didn't die that way. Mm-hmm. Why are you giving yourself room to continue to live in failure? Because none of those men died in their failures. Those men failed, allowed their failures to make them greater. And that's what I mean by this. Allow these things to make you greater. Allow this to recognize that there's something in you that you have to put to death and that you have to die. Don't allow this to be something that dies with you, that died conquered. There's a reason why we call y'all vivers, and that's short for survivor. Because I survived this. This thing no longer holds me down and no longer has dominion over me. I possess the dominion. And I'm telling you, you can get back up. You can look in the mirror. And I'm trying to get y'all to realize to walk away and understand the enemy that you fight. What do you got, Brother Hall?
So, when you had talked about the whole thing, and I've heard it preached so many times to youth conferences and different things like that. Oh, this is a generation of giants, like all of that. And the thing is, everybody wants to be like the Apostle Paul with all of these miracles, these different signs and wonders that he's done, calling out people that are demon possessed and just saying, like, commanded the demon to come out. Like, everybody wants to be like that. The Apostle Paul wouldn't have been anything if it was not for a Barnabas. Because when the Apostle Paul came to Jerusalem, nobody wanted to accept him.
Yeah.
Because they weren't sure. They knew who he was before. And they're like, man, we don't know if this is a trick or what's going to happen.
Right.
But you had a Barnabas who is known as the son of consolation. He was a encourager. He stands up and says, no, I've seen this man. This man is preaching the gospel. He's talking about his testimony. You don't hear about Barnabas going out and preaching. You don't hear about Barnabas performing these mighty works and these mighty things. But what he did was he was an encourager. Even to the point when they had John Mark come with them, and John Mark got homesick, wanted to go home with his mom, and the Apostle Paul didn't want to have anything to do with John Mark. He said, leave him. He said, he deserted us once, he's going to desert us again. But Barnabas goes with him. Barnabas goes with John Mark, and this is when we hear about Paul and Silas, because Silas goes with them. But then what happens towards getting towards the end of Paul's life, when he's in prison, he says, bring Mark because he's profitable to my ministry. If it was like, don't, just like Brother Solis is saying about having an armor bearer, have someone, strive to be an encourager, because you know what? It's so much better to know that I help somebody else. That's what God wants us to be, to love each other, to help each other. That's why we are here. Because you know what? You may be someone that is low and someone that may not be able to really see the issues that are really going on. But if you have a brother there that sees that and says, hey, you are not going to battle by yourself. I am going to war with you. We are going to get through this. You are not battling this yourself. You're not going through this yourself in your mind, but we are going to war together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm telling you, we can and we have to be real with ourselves. I said, I know this was a little different podcast, but I don't want anybody to feel that we are trying to bash you or we're just trying to make you feel worse than what you were. This is just the rubber meeting the road and allowing us, because I know if I'm not real with myself, I can really come against my pastor. I can really come against this ministry team. I can even come against the youth. You know, and these people helped me a lot. Like I told y'all on this podcast, if it wasn't for, Brother Elliot just saying, hey, Brother Solis is doing and whipping out his phone, and we recorded the first episode of this podcast. If it wasn't for him pushing me to go in that, I would have procrastinated. I can honestly say that. But if I'm not cautious, and not realizing that me can get in the way of our relationship. And that's what I want you to see, is to be real with yourself and to look in the mirror and tell yourself, number one, I have to die today. And number two, my people are my people and they do not want me to die and they are not trying to kill me. And number three, when I walk away, I'm going to remember who I fight. I'm going to remember what I fight. And my people, my brothers and my sisters, are not who I fight, but the people that I help fight the good fight of faith. So y'all already know, ladies and gentlemen, the coffee's running low. So we got to go. Stay encouraged. Stay in the fight. And stay surviving.